Intro. The silent thief of life, they say time heals, but time also kills, quietly. Not in one day, not in a crash or a war, but in the small, invisible ways we waste it. We lose it scrolling, complaining, waiting, doubting. We trade ours for comfort, and then wonder why life feels empty. The truth is, time doesn't belong to you. It never did. You don't own it. You spend it. Every breath, every click, every lazy thought is a transaction. And most men are going broke without even noticing. The world is designed to steal your attention, and with it, your existence. Distractions have become the new chains, comfort the new poison. We drown in entertainment and call it relaxation. We avoid silence because silence exposes how much of life we are wasting. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." But most people don't live like they die. They live like they live twice. And that illusion, that quiet, comforting lie is the thief of life itself. If you ever wonder where your motivation went, look at where your time went. Because every second you give to nonsense, you steal from the man you could become. Chapter 2. The comfort trap. Comfort feels good. That's the problem. It is warm, soft, familiar. It whispers that you've done enough, that you deserve to rest, that one more hour, one more day, won't matter. But that is how comfort kills, not with pain, with peace. It doesn't stab you. It seduces you. It convinces you that safety is the goal, that slow down means self-care, that you've earned it means stop trying. The truth is, comfort is the most elegant cage ever built. It doesn't have walls. It has cushions. You don't even realize you're trapped because everything feels nice. You wake up a little later, skip one workout, scroll a little longer. You tell yourself it is temporary, but soon it is not. It becomes identity. It becomes you. That is how men rot not from failure, but from softness. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short life, but that we make it so." And what shortens life faster than wasting it in comfort? The Stoics understood that the body and the mind crave resistance, that without friction, there is no growth. Without discomfort, there is no meaning. Marcus Aurelius woke up each morning and reminded himself that life is labor, that ease is not the reward, it is the distraction. Modern men, however, confuse rest with escape. They think taking a break means abandoning effort. They confuse peace with paralysis. Comfort slowly erases the edge that made you alive. It dulls your hunger, your instincts, your fire. You start negotiating with your goals, postponing discipline, convincing yourself that tomorrow is just a wiser version of today. But there is no tomorrow, only today, repeated until you die. And the man who spends his days chasing comfort dies long before his body does. Discomfort isn't your enemy. It is your teacher. Every time you resist it, you shrink. Every time you face it, you expand. That is why the strong seek discomfort intentionally. They walk into the cold, the pain, the silence, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know it is the only way to stay awake. When you choose challenge, comfort loses its grip. When you choose effort, you take your life back. You don't overcome comfort by rejecting it. You overcome it by starving it. You feed purpose instead. You fill your hours with what matters. So there is no room for numbness. Because the longer you live in comfort, the harder it becomes to remember what real life feels like. You were not built for soft edges. You were built to fight, build, create, struggle, and rise. So the next time comfort calls your name, remember this. It is not a friend. It is a slow death with a smile. And if you want to truly live, you must learn to walk past it. Chapter 3. Distraction is the new addiction. You think you ray free because no one owns you. But they do. They own your attention. And whoever controls your attention controls your life. Look around. Everyone is scrolling, tapping, checking, eyes down, minds elsewhere. No chains, no cages, just endless stimulation, and we call it connection. We live in a world where silence feels like danger, where being alone feels like failure, where stillness feels wrong. We used to crave purpose. Now we crave notifications. We used to chase meaning. Now we chase dopamine. The Stoics warned about this centuries ago, that the man who cannot sit alone with his thoughts will be ruled by the noise of others. And that is exactly what happened. Every scroll is a choice. Every tap is time you never see again. You think you ray escaping boredom, but boredom was never the enemy. Distraction was, because distraction is subtle. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It gives you just enough pleasure to keep you numb, just enough information to keep you ignorant. It replaces creation with consumption, discipline with impulse, clarity with noise. You tell yourself it is harmless, just 5 minutes, but 5 minutes becomes an hour. An hour becomes a habit, and habits build identity. You ray not losing focus. You ray trading it for things that don't matter. When is the last time you sat in silence without music, without scrolling, just you and your thoughts? You probably can't remember, because distraction has become your oxygen. And the scariest part, you call it relaxing. We have built a civilization where men feel restless without being busy, and empty when they finally stop. But what if you realize that your attention is the most valuable currency in existence? That every brand, every feed, every algorithm is designed to drain it from you minute by minute, click by click. They don't want your money first. They want your time. Because if they can steal that, they can take everything else later. The Stoics called this slavery of the mind, when your freedom exists only in theory. When your body is free, but your thoughts are not your own. So how do you escape? You stop being a consumer of noise and become a creator of focus. Delete what weakens you, mute what distracts you, protect what nourishes you. You don't need more apps. You need attention discipline. When you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your time. And when you reclaim your time, you reclaim your life, because every distraction avoided is one step closer to who you were meant to be. The truth is simple. If you can control what you pay attention to, you don't control your destiny. So turn off the noise, turn your eyes forward, and remember, the modern world doesn't need your money. It feeds on your focus. Don't give it for free. Chapter 4. The power of saying no. Most men destroy their focus not by what they do, but by what they agree to. Every yes you give steals something from you. A piece of energy, a bit of clarity, a chunk of time you'll never see again. You say yes to things you don't care about, to people you don't respect, to plans you don't want, just to avoid discomfort. But every time you do, you betray yourself. The strong man knows no is not rejection. It is protection. It guards your purpose, your time, your peace. Saying no isn't rude. It is sacred. It means you finally understand that not everything deserves access to you. A Stoic man measures his yes carefully, because he knows each one has a cost. He chooses few things, but fully, few people, but deeply, the rest. He lets go, without guilt, without noise, because he'd rather be respected for his boundaries than liked for his weakness. So start saying no, not from pride, but from purpose. Because a man who can say no will never have time for what truly matters. Chapter 5. The discipline of focus. Focus is not a talent. It is a choice, repeated until it becomes identity. Everyone says they want to focus. Few are willing to live the kind of life that makes focus possible. You can focus if you live for noise. You can build clarity while chasing comfort. You can find meaning when your mind is split into fragments. Discipline of focus means learning to stay with one thing long after it stops feeling exciting. It means sitting with boredom until boredom turns into flow. It means doing the same reps, writing the same lines, showing up when no one is watching. The world glorifies multitasking, but Stoicism glorifies mastery. And mastery only comes through isolation from distraction, from applause, from urgency. The focused man moves differently. His presence is heavier, his decisions slower, his results louder. He knows that focus is not about doing less, it is about doing one thing fully. Every time you focus, you create depth, and depth is what separates real strength from noise. You can waste a lifetime doing everything halfway, or you can become dangerous by mastering one path completely. But here is the hard truth: focus costs everything that isn't aligned with it. It costs random pleasures. It costs half-hearted friendships. It costs comfort. It costs approval. That is why so few men have it. The Stoics practiced focus not as productivity, but as freedom. Because when you control your attention, you control your world. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." So stop trying to be everywhere. Pick your mountain, climb it, and don't look sideways. Because the man who learns to focus learns to live. Chapter 6. The fear behind wasted time. No one wastes time because they want to. They waste it because they are afraid. Afraid to fail. Afraid to start. Afraid to see how little control they really have. Wasting time feels safer than trying, because if you never try, you never have to face who you really are. That is the secret reason behind procrastination. It is not laziness. It is fear in disguise. A fear so quiet, it sounds like comfort. You tell yourself you are not ready, that you need more time, more clarity, more signs. But deep down, you already know you are not waiting for the right moment. You are hiding from the weight of the real one. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus said, "You act like mortals in what you fear, and like immortals in what you desire. You rush to avoid pain, but take your time chasing purpose. You run from failure, but crawl toward your calling. And every moment you delay, fear grows stronger, because fear feeds on hesitation. You can think your way out of fear. You can only move through it. You break it by acting while your hands still shake, by doing before you feel ready. Most men wait for courage to come. It never will. Courage isn't a feeling. It is a decision. It is the moment you stop waiting for permission and start living on purpose. Time doesn't care about your fear. It moves whether you act or not. And one day, it will stop with or without you moving. That is why wasting time hurts. Not because you lose hours, but because you lose potential. You kill versions of yourself that could be existed if only you had begun. Fear is a lie dressed as logic. It whispers, tomorrow. It promises safety, but delivers regret. The strong man sees through it. He knows fear is proof that he is on the right path. That every pulse of anxiety is a signal pointing toward growth. So he doesn't wait. He moves, shaky, uncertain, but forward. Because he knows the real danger is not in failing, but in never beginning. The moment you stop negotiating with fear, you stop wasting your life. You start using it. And that is when time finally starts serving you back. Chapter 7. How Stoics protect their hours. A Stoic doesn't guard money. He guards hours, because he knows time is the only wealth that can be replaced. Most people let their days bleed away 10 minutes here and out there until their life becomes a blur of almost. But not the Stoic. He treats his time as sacred ground. He wakes with intention, moves with rhythm, and ends his day with reflection. Every part of his routine serves a purpose to stay awake while the rest of the world sleeps through its own life. He doesn't start the morning by touching his phone. He starts by touching his mind. Silence, breath, awareness. He enters the day before the world enters him. He plans like a warrior before battle, not for control, but for clarity. He knows chaos wins when you live reactively, so he sets boundaries before the world crosses them. Every yes goes through one question: does this serve my purpose, or just my ego? If it is ego, it dies instantly. If it has purpose, it earns his time. The Stoic has learned that focus is not natural, it is defended. That peace isn't he found, it is protected. That purpose doesn't he stay, it is maintained daily. He creates space for solitude, not as escape, but as sharpening. He understands that reflection is fuel, not luxury, that one quiet hour can be worth 10 noisy ones. And when he works, he is all in, no half attention, no multitasking. He is not everywhere, he is here, because to him, life isn't he about how much he does. It is about how deeply he does it. He ends the day the same way he began, in silence, looking back not to judge, but to understand. What served his value stays. What didn't he is burned away. That is how the Stoic lives, by daily refinement, not random survival. Every sunrise is a rehearsal for mastery. Every sunset, a review of the soul. He doesn't he find time for life. He builds life inside his time. So protect your hours like your breath, because one day they both run out. And the only question that will matter is, did you live them, or just spend them? Chapter 8. The art of living deliberately. Most men exist. Few live, they move fast, but not forward. They fill every hour, but not their soul. They mistake movement for meaning. The Stoics knew, life isn't measured in years, but in awareness. And how many moments you were truly there. Living deliberately doesn't mean living slowly. It means living consciously, knowing why you act before you act, choosing your response instead of reacting to the noise, feeling the weight of every breath, as if it could be your last, because one day it will be. The modern world teaches urgency. It says, run, chase, scroll, achieve. But Stoicism teaches presence. It whispers, pause, look, listen, think. You don't need to do more. You need to be aware of what you're doing. The man who lives deliberately doesn't rush through his mornings. He greets them. He doesn't just eat. He tastes. He doesn't just work. He builds. He doesn't just breathe. He notices that he can. To live deliberately is to stop living on autopilot. It is to question what others call normal. To ask, is this mine? Or was it given to me by habit, fear, or expectation? Because most lives are not chosen, they copied, and copying kills purpose. The Stoic lives each day as a sculptor. He removes what doesn't belong. He sharpens what matters. He builds himself into something intentional, not by chance, but by choice. This doesn't mean he rejects pleasure or success. It means he consumes them consciously without becoming their slave. He walks slowly, but each step counts. He speaks rarely, but every word lands. He loves deeply, but without attachment. He works hard, but without losing peace. Living deliberately means you stop chasing later and start honoring now. It means you wake each morning asking, what deserves my energy today? And when the sun sets, you can answer, everything I gave, I meant it. That is the art of deliberate living, to stop drifting and start directing. To live like your time is short, because it is. When you begin to live this way, life stops feeling chaotic. It becomes clean, precise, full, because nothing feels better than knowing you didn't waste this day. Chapter 9. Death as a clock. Death isn't your enemy. It is your reminder. A clock that never stops ticking, counting down every breath you take, whether you listen or not. Most people avoid thinking about death. They call it dark, morbid, uncomfortable. But that discomfort is the point, because only when you face the end do you finally understand how to live. The Stoics carried death like a compass. They called it memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to fear it, but to feel it. To use it as fuel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. When you remember death, you stop postponing life. You stop wasting time on pride, on noise, on meaningless arguments and empty desires. You start asking, if this were my last day, would this still matter? Because death burns away illusions. It doesn't care about your money, your followers, your excuses. It cares only about one thing: did you live while you were alive? The awareness of death is not meant to scare you, it is meant to wake you. Every moment you waste pretending you have time is another piece of eternity slipping through your hands. When you realize that your hours are numbered, you stop giving them to nonsense. You stop chasing validation. You start living with urgency, but not panic, with purpose. You stop saying someday, because you understand that someday is not a dated a lie. Death teaches clarity. It removes the irrelevant. It humbles the ego. It gives weight to the present. It tells you, you are temporary. So make what is temporary eternal. That is the paradox. The closer you are to death, the more alive you become. Because you finally see how fragile everything is and how sacred it always was. One day, you'll take your last breath. The world will keep spinning. And everything you feared, postponed, or pretended will mean nothing. But until that day comes, you have the greatest privilege a man can have: awareness. The clock is ticking, not to threaten you, but to remind you still have time to live like it matters. Chapter 10. The man who uses every minute. He is not the loudest. He is not the fastest. He is not chasing noise or applause. He is simply present. He knows his time is short, and that makes every minute sacred. He doesn't wake up by accident. He wakes up with intention. He knows what matters, and he moves toward it like a man who has already seen the end. No wasted motion, no empty talk, no pretending. When he eats, he tastes. When he works, he builds. When he loves, he gives fully. When he rests without guilt. He has learned that peace isn't the absence of effort, it is the result of alignment. Every no he says protects his yes. Every yes he gives strengthens his direction. He lives like a sculptor, carving meaning out of moments, shaping each day with discipline and gratitude. He doesn't measure life by how much he gets done, he measures it by how real it felt. The man who uses every minute doesn't rush, but he never drifts. He knows that time will take everything from him, so he chooses what it takes with purpose. He doesn't fear death anymore. He fears only one thing: to reach the end and realize he lived someone else's life. So he stays awake, aware, alive. He guards his attention like treasure. He spends his time like currency. He treats his presence as a weapon and his silence as wisdom. When others waste hours chasing comfort, he invests them in building his soul. When others look for distraction, he looks inward because he knows all answers begin there. And when the final day arrives, he won't beg for more time. He'll simply exhale and say, I used it well. That is what it means to live with honor. Not to be perfect, but to be awake in every breath, in every choice, in every second that was never truly yours, but that you turned into something timeless.